Hello, my name is Alex Shalaev, and you're watching Testcontainers Live, the show where we talk about with outstanding guests in the Java ecosystem, IT industry, computer science, software engineering, development, and everything in between, technologies, solutions, tooling, best practices, all DevOps, all of that. And today it's my great pleasure to introduce our guest, Sandra. Sandra, hello, how are you doing?
Hey Oleg, I'm okay. How are you?
I'm as fine as can be. It's a very challenging time, and we all understand that the situation is not ideal in the world. And I hope we can concentrate on the technology and the solutions right now. So, but our hearts and our thoughts are with people suffering the nightmare situation in Ukraine. Right. So, Sandra, you're joining us from Germany. Am I correct? And you are a cloud developer advocate for Microsoft, with a lot of background and knowledge and expertise in all things Docker.
Yes, thank you. Thanks for having me. It's a pleasure to be here. You know, I just checked the last Docker Berlin meetup was actually about test containers with your colleague and boss Sergey. So that was awesome, and I was very happy when you asked me to join this one here. Yeah,
Yeah.
and I
Okay.
kind of moved inside advocacy from the container team towards the Java team. Not because I don't like containers any longer. It was more because everyone is now in my time zone and not, in Australia where we had 12 hours. So meetings were so challenging.
Right. Very cool. Java is something that I have a lot of experience with. That's where my main developer background comes from. So I think we should have a very interesting stream today. So you work for Microsoft, and one of the big things that Microsoft is developing currently is the Azure cloud, right? But no, it's not just that. The Microsoft, well, it's not even the Microsoft. The ecosystem around the products there, and the move to the cloud is felt everywhere. So today we're going to talk about GitHub, about the developing code in the cloud. We're gonna show hopefully a nice little demo of using code spaces, which is the how do you describe code spaces to people even?
So it's just VS Code with all the Java extensions and so on. But you can have it instead of on your local machine, you can host it in the cloud and make sure that you use all the power you can get from other servers, which is actually quite cool because my MacBook is starting to get a bit older and I only have 16 gigabytes of RAM. But if I need more, I can just spin up a code space and then use another server in the cloud which has more power. Yeah. And
Right. So
that's
it's
actually a cool thing, but everything we're showing is also working on your local machine in VS Code.
right. Okay, that sounds fair. It's sort of like a software as a service platform for your local development environments, but in the cloud. I feel I feel I feel that this is fine. A fine description. If you haven't tried that, this should be available on all the GitHub repositories for you, and we can try. So in this episode, what we're gonna try to do, what is our plan here? Uh, as Kevin says, 16 gigabytes of RAM is just not enough anymore. That is true. That is true. It feels like it should be enough for anyone, but claims like that have been muttered before, and the history show that this is clearly not true. So there is not given the opportunity. I know that I, as a developer, can write a program that can consume any number of resources that you throw at it. It's a skill, really. But what we're gonna do today, we're gonna look at the code spaces and GitHub, and we're gonna try to use that to develop a simple, small, you can say a sample Quarkus application. Quarkus is the one of the modern frameworks for creating applications, microservices, and maybe larger applications as well in Java. It's very opinionated. It has quite a philosophy how Quarkus team thinks we should develop software. It has definitely a great user experience. So we're going to try looking at that. And we're going to try to create a small application that integrates with Kafka as a process, as the solution for the message-driven architecture. And we're going to see how to do that from code spaces and how to write a few integration tests and run that with Quarkus and Testcontainers. So this is the plan. Stay tuned, and we'll see how well we're gonna implement this. So I know that we're gonna talk about the code spaces. So let me share my screen here for a second because I've come prepared. I knew that we're going to talk about code spaces. So I created a repository, which this is a starter for the code spaces. It's on GitHub. What I can do there is I can click the code button. I can say create a code space and pick any shape of the machine that I want and click create code space. So I'm going to do that now, and they're going to see whether that works or not. So in the background now, GitHub is preparing a virtual machine for me, right? And we're going to use that virtual machine as a workspace. It's sort of like, this is my laptop. Like, you don't see it, but it's right here. You can assume it's right here. And the code space is sort of the same environment, but in the cloud. Is that correct?
Yeah, but it should be probably a better environment, because otherwise, what's the point? And I'm also, I said 16 gigabyte of RAM, but not everyone is so happy to have that powerful machine. So I could also go with a tablet or a phone and last but not least, GitHub is the place for open source. And we thought about, hey, what can we make to help people engage in open source project? And wouldn't it be nice if we can, host the IDE inside the cloud so that everyone can contribute? Also the one just with the tablets. So maybe they just have 1 gigabyte of RAM. So almost enough or hardly enough to run the browser. So I think that was also part of the reason why this is a good idea.
Ooh, a little bit of shade thrown at various browser implementations.
No,
Have you,
that was not my intention, but you can go with whatever browser you want.
No, we know that. Well, yeah, it's fine. It's fine. We know that browser is always a hog of memory, the same as Slack and some other applications. So I feel a little bit. I think I've done something wrong because my workspace is starting. Should I be even starting the workspace like this and setting it up like my normal laptop machine, or is there a better, more reasonable workflow for using code spaces for developing applications?
So I think in the ideal world, the number of extensions you need is bound on the projects you're working on. I'm not sure about you, but I'm kind of a minimalist, so I love to clean my machine once in a while. So just do a total refresh, install everything new, also for VS Code, because with more extensions it also might get a bit more slow. And I have various other IDEs which are like this powerful and this huge. So they are able to slow down my machine, but they're happily allowed to do that because, I get this power. But if I want to go do like small projects, like more microservices or even nano projects, I want to have something fast and reliable. So I go with VS Code and the smallest number of extensions as possible. And that's directly where I can use code spaces or the dev containers for. So I can actually save what extensions I need for each repositories and don't have to blow my IDE with, I don't know, NPM or other extensions I don't even need for this project. So I'm not sure what you're downloading actually for this one.
Well, this is a setup. It downloads various things. It probably downloads some unnecessary things because it's setting up my actual environment. But what I'm hearing is that you're recommending the approach where if I want to work on a certain project, right?
Yeah.
If I want to go to GitHub, this one, right? If I want to go to a Quarkus project that will embody our sample application, then I should be starting my code space from the project, not the other way around, starting a workspace that is similar to my laptop and cloning projects into that.
Yeah.
Oh,
That's true. I actually forked that project you're having there and saved the code space in the dev container format.
What?
So I
Let's see.
think if
Let me
you
see.
can, yeah, you can.
Wait. How do I?
I think if you could press on if you click on the number 1. Oh, that's weird. Shall I share my screen otherwise?
Yeah, you can. Maybe you can share your screen. Let's replace my screen with your screen.
It's already shared. Can you see right now?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, so here you can see I just forked your screen. Should I do it a bit bigger?
Yeah. Yeah. Please.
Okay. Okay. So there we go. And here I have my code. And you can see here's my code space. I just created on, click here on code and then new code space. And like 11 days ago, I did this folder here inside my code space where I can define what extensions I need. So here in my dev container file, I know that for this project, it's very handy to have the Java package installed because, it's a Java project. And I also might need AKS or Docker or LiveShare to do pair programming also within VS Code or GitHub code spaces. By the way, it's also working in Gitpod. So it's not totally bound to GitHub actually.
Yo,
This one should be a lot faster, even though we have the same small machine. But let's see how this goes.
Yes, mine was installing SDK, some frameworks. It was doing the whole laptop setup, which probably is not the smartest decision possible. Right, so yours is already started and ready. That is very, very cool.
Yeah, I think so, right? Yeah, it says it's activated. So here I can say, oh, I agree that So I also tried this new GitHub Copilot extension. I'm not sure if that's working, but we can totally try it out. Yeah, and here again is my dev container file. And if you want to work like this, so you know the extensions tab already from VS Code. Should probably do that a lot bigger, actually. So, and here you can always find your extensions. And you just search for Java, for instance, and get the extension pack. And what's interesting here is the identifier, because that's what you need to put into your dev containers file. So here I can just press Command P and then, no, I think it's Command Shift P. Okay. Command Shift P. And then I can go with, I think it's called code spaces. And then you would click on Add Development Container Configuration Files. And this one will then configure your dev container JSON file, and the Docker file in order to run your environment in this containerization format. So don't get me wrong here. If you have already containerized your Java app, that doesn't replace this one. It's just the virtualization your IDE, your VS Code will run in. So, and here in my dev container JSON, I would just put the extension identifier. And this one would enable everyone who's opening the project to go with the same extensions installed, and also myself when I open this project a little bit later. And everyone means that if I would create this one within a GitHub organization or GitHub team, that will work. So
right.
Unfortunately, with LiveShare, I think it's not working too well, but maybe we can try. So now I can share with you, and you can actually join me in this one.
Yeah, okay. I'm waiting for the invitation, and we can see the comment that clone and run approach, which is really something that I think in the current time is necessary to have for the project, right? You never want a developer start fiddling with the make scripts or setting up the environment or trying to figure out how to import that into the IDE while they can do something useful.
So I just put the link in oh no, I couldn't send the message via Twitter. Yeah, no, it worked. Or should I put it actually in our chat here? That would enable everyone to join us. No, maybe that's too much.
No, that's, I think that is a
Sorry,
little
folks, we
bit.
can't trust you that much.
Yeah, we cannot trust internet that much. So let me actually show you what this looks
Sure.
from my perspective. If we quickly look at my screen, when I open that link,
Okay.
which we totally spoiled here, but don't notice that, it opens the Visual Studio Code, and then it asks me whether I want to open it in my Visual Studio Code application or just the browser. Let's do Visual Studio Code app. Again, it asks me for permissions, so I feel very safe doing this, and I don't want any recommendations. Enter. Right. This is very, very exciting because I have my Visual Studio Code here, and it is really opening the workspace, which is currently running in your cloud code space, and it's on my machine. And I'm following you. We have a terminal. This is cool. Let's now, since this is the application that I created, maybe I can quickly talk about this. But I think this is pretty cool. So it's a. Can I edit this something? I will edit this here, right?
Sure.
This is the Quarkus application, and if you don't know what Quarkus is, you can visit quarkus.io. It's an opinionated framework. It takes a lot of inspiration from Java EE ecosystem. It's great for creating web applications, microservices. It has a lot of orientation towards cloud native applications and the deployments into. It tries to be friendly towards cloud deployments, and in general has the attitude and the philosophy of developer joy, which is if certain things bring joy to a developer when they're developing Quarkus applications, those things are welcome and stay. And if certain things are more of an obstacle, then they are being rewritten into something more joyful. So here's my application. It's very simple. There are two main classes that we have here. And my current class embodies a controller, an entity that will respond to HTTP queries, and the Quarkus will map things to that. So when my application starts, I will compute the prime numbers. The prime numbers, which obviously are the ones that are only divisible by themselves and 2, and I'm going to compute them using a mind-boggling, super complex algorithm of just trying for every particular number, for every particular request, I will generate 2 random numbers, which will represent the slice where I want to find the prime numbers. And then for every number within that range, I will try it. And for that, I will take the numbers and try whether they're divisible or not. So it's a little bit of quadratic complexity computation here, which is ideal, I think, for various sample application purposes. So this is literally what my application is doing. So this is one thing. And the other thing, while we're computing this, because we're talking about quadratic computational complexity, we're going to be timing how much time it takes us to compute the prime numbers within the certain range. And we're going to create entities, create instances of the computation log class, which is as simple as can be. Just records the from and to, the sequence that we are computing, and how much time it took. And what we're gonna do with such simple class is we're gonna send them into the Kafka instance, right? So we're gonna compute things and we're gonna send some messages. This is the business logic of our application. Very simple, very small. The configuration goes into the application.properties file. According to Quarkus, this is literally the hello world getting started with Quarkus and Kafka application that they just reformatted and enhanced to do the prime numbers computation. Very simple. What I can do now with it, I can run this application. Now I am in the read-only terminal. I will request the read and write access from Sandra. which is
Sure.
which is a very, very cool feature. Given that I'm in your VM currently, it doesn't give me the access to random terminals, which is cool. But I have it now, right?
Yeah, I gave you access. So it just, for me, it was just a little pop-up window if I want to give you access, and then sure.
Yes, but it
I
doesn't
don't want
work
to
for me.
jeopardize our demo here.
Does it work for me?
I hope so.
Hello? Who am I? So if I create new terminals, it does some mine, but like, okay, here.
It should be working in the one
Yes.
which was
Okay.
already
Okay.
there, right?
Okay. Okay. Yes. Who am I? Who am I? Yes. Very good. I'm a code space at in the Sandra workspace. Very, very good. So now I can run this application, and we need to set up Kafka because our application depends on Kafka.
Okay, so we'll meet again in 2 weeks.
Yeah, yeah. Do you have enough experience to set up Kafka in 2 weeks? Let's look at Let's look first at a simpler thing. Before setting up Kafka for our application, what I want to talk about is the integration test, because there I know definitely how I want to set up Kafka. Because if you work with the technologies for if you want to write integration tests with the real instances of service dependencies, you use a library called Testcontainers. The library called Testcontainers, which very conveniently offers you the API to kind of sort of manage the life cycle of the dependencies inside Docker containers. Right, so I have Docker here in my code space, right? You can see I have Docker and nothing is running there. I don't understand why is it giving me only 5 lines to work with, but maybe it's the size of your terminal there.
My terminal is bigger. We can actually share my screen and see you typing in my screen also.
Okay, this is your screen. Very good. Let's do this now. So what I can do is here, Quarkus.
It's still your screen, but Sergey can probably do that.
No, this is your screen now.
Oh yeah, now I see my screen. Okay.
I just
sorry.
Yeah. This is now your screen. This is Sandra's screen. Can you follow me? Like, do you have a button somewhere?
Just type something, and yeah, I think.
Hello, Sandra.
Type share.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. Oh, this feels like magic.
Yeah, it's amazing, especially being all remote and still being able to do actually pair programming.
Right. So this is the simple test that I have here. It's marked with Quarkus test because Quarkus team has thought about people doing integration tests, and Quarkus integrates with the Testcontainers libraries. So by default, it comes with the capabilities for creating those Docker containers. So all I need to do, if I do Maven, and I'm doing that in terminal, Quarkus, Maven test. I'll do Maven test, and this should build our project, and this should run the tests for our project. And there is one test there, which is the prime resource test, which is this. It will set up our application, and it will use the rest assured library. And this is the sample test that you get when you create the new application there. And it will run everything, and apparently it will eat the logs. I don't see any logs on my screen. I see the logs on your screen, so which is good because that's what we're sharing with the world as well. What happened here is the Quarkus realized that our application requires a Kafka instance, and they know that because the Quarkus has this full visibility into what our application is doing. And they also thought, well, the Quarkus application during the build stage realized that there is no configuration how to access Kafka. So for the test, they created us a throwaway ephemeral Kafka instance configured using Testcontainers. And you can see that it determined the Docker environment that we're dealing with, which is the Docker something Azure, and it downloaded a Kafka container. I think it is using. Is it using Red Panda?
Yeah, here you see it.
Yes, vectorized Red Panda, which is I think, as far as I know, it's a Kafka compatible implementation, rewritten. Well, sort of. You can think of it as Kafka rewritten in Rust or C++. Some of the performance-oriented languages, and it's used. You can note also the cute Docker whale icons in the logs, specifying that the container has started, and our test passes. So when we do what we do in the test here, it's actually pretty simple.
So it's in C++. Thank you.
Yes, it's what we do here is we run our application and we hit the primes random 100 URL, and then expect status code 200 back, and that the body of this contains an opening square bracket, which is a sort of simplistic test, but a test nonetheless. So if the array of primes will come back towards us as an array to string, it will be enclosed in brackets. And the test passes. So this is the simplicity, how simple it is to create integration tests with test containers, right? It manages the Dockerized dependencies for you. Now, the cool bit about Quarkus, let's come back to our application, is that, well, technically, it's a cool bit also about test containers, is that you don't have to, like, you're not limited to integration testing to create those containers, right? It's just an API that you can use from anywhere. So technically, when you start your application, you could also detect the same situation, that we would like to use Kafka and Kafka is not configured. So what we can do is we can start up a Docker container with Kafka, the same way we do for integration tests, but we do that for local development. The Quarkus framework did exactly that, and they call this feature dev services, which is development services, and this is pretty amazing. So all I have to do to run this application here is to type Maven, Quarkus, dev, I typed that. I wonder if this is actually, oh, it's Go C, right? Very good. And it starts it. You can see that they detected the application. They detected that we use Kafka. They created Kafka. If you look at the logs there, and then you can you open localhost 8080 in the browser?
Sure.
I mean, it has to be it's not your localhost, but it's like your code space's localhost.
Okay. That's not working. Interesting.
It asked me about something like this, that whether I want to open ports. I think you need to go to the ports tab near the terminal, and then add port 8080. You need to click add port and say 8080.
Okay.
And then you open that.
Okay.
Right. And you see the Quarkus getting started thing.
Yay.
Isn't it amazing?
That was easy.
Now, if you want to actually see the prime numbers, I'm very proud of my prime numbers generating implementation.
Yeah, how can I see that?
You add the slash primes, slash random, and you put the number slash, one more slash, right, random slash, and the number, which is the upper bound for the sequence, right? We give one number. Yeah. How cool is that? Yeah, so you specified 100, right? And it picked two random, like a slice, and it gives you prime numbers. All the numbers that it prints to you are prime numbers. And you can see that every response there has a square bracket. So our test actually does determine something correctly. We can also break that test if you want. By requiring something else. But it works just fairly magically. Think about this. In the last 20 minutes or so, what we did is, this is completely in the cloud, right? We are not having anything on our machine. We created the cloud ID for ourselves. We specified it to work in the collaborative mode in the cloud. Both of us edited this application and the environment, and we run it, and it runs everything together there, right? If you go to terminal and run the Docker PS, you will even, I think in the new one, I think you need to create a new one.
Okay.
You can even see the Kafka container they're running.
Yeah.
By the way, also, did you know that when you type things, they appear on my screen also character by character, like literally, like as you type, I think.
That's nice.
That is very, very cool. That is very cool. So this is our application, and it works this particular way. You can run integration tests against a number of technologies. It's not just Kafka, right? It is databases. It's your Elasticsearch. It's your RabbitMQ. It's your Redis. It's your MongoDB. It's your everything. Look, there is a comment from Edu. Great to see Testcontainers adoption around many frameworks. Yeah, and indeed, Spring application Spring Boot works with Testcontainers, and you can do the tests. Quarkus, Micronaut, Camel. I think that's a business rule engine, right? Okay, but this is very good, Ed. Thank you very much for dropping into the stream and chatting with us. Edu, if you didn't know, I think Edu is a Spring Boot contributor, or was, and he's also, I think, the initial person contributing the Google Cloud module for Testcontainers. So we have an Azure module for Testcontainers that can work with certain and allow you to do integration tests against certain Azure technologies, and we also have for other clouds as well. Which is in itself a very good topic, maybe for a different stream, because my current understanding of and knowledge about Azure is limited, but it's a very, very interesting cloud environment. So check it out, and you can run tests against that, at least against some technologies with Testcontainers. Right. So we have this application now. And we sort of developed it, and we can run it locally, and we can edit it or fix some issues here. We can run the tests. Now, what would be very, very cool is, how do we proceed with that? I would like to have this in my, like a CI/CD solution. What GitHub has to offer for me here.
So yeah, let's go with GitHub Actions then. Yeah, I already created this one time, so we can just probably delete it and then go on again. Let's see if I can also. I just go with new workflow. Why not? So in here we have already some workflows which are pre-configured, and as this one is just Maven, I can probably just go with Maven, right? To use
right.
it.
Before we do that, can you maybe for uninitiated GitHub Actions, if somebody was living and not touching the GitHub ecosystem very much yet, so what is a GitHub Action and what workflows are we choosing here?
Okay, so GitHub Actions is basically one of our CI/CD systems, so we can use it for the whole development or also for the whole continuous deployment process. And here we would want to automate everything between building the app and getting it tested with integration tests. So yeah, and it will be saved in so-called workflow YAMLs. So we will have the whole infrastructure as code also, which makes it more maintainable, and we see all the steps which are taken. So, and as we just used Maven to execute all our steps, it should be very easy for us to also have this displayed with GitHub Actions.
Right.
Was this understandable? What did I miss?
No, I think it was very, very on point. Right. So, okay,
Shall I just go with the Java with Maven one?
I think so. Can we look at it? So this is the predefined workflows. They come from a marketplace of sorts, or can anyone publish those, or how does it?
Yeah.
Okay.
And I can give it a different name also, so it should be for everyone visible, the Actions one. If not, you might have to go into its settings and make it available for you. Okay, just checking the comments if I'm saying anything wrong. So now I have my Maven build here and setting it up with Java 11. So I think that was also where it was built in. And now I might want to add a step, right? To get it tested?
I think if you went with the Maven workflow, I think maybe it is actually enough, because what the command that it does, it runs Maven package. And Maven package by default, Maven package by default will run the tests. So I think if we just do this, it will use JDK 11, set everything up, and run Maven. One thing that we need to note here is that for running test containers based tests, right, our integration test, we need a compatible Docker environment to spin up, because we would like to spin up our Red Panda container. So that one, I assume, is pre-provided for you by GitHub. That is awesome. That is awesome. So there is Docker. How much resources do you get in a worker for GitHub Actions?
Oh, I think it takes whatever worker is free for you right now. So if you want to specify it and give it a specific resource, you would have to, pay for it. So the free stuff is always this. So I don't have the exact numbers, so I can find that out for you. So
yeah,
I think this one was probably pretty fast, actually.
Yeah, it was pretty fast.
No, it's still running.
Now, well, it is running test now, but it checked out, set up everything, and now it is doing the actual testing of our setting up, pulling the container as well, because it runs the first time, right? So it has to pull the Docker image and then start the container and run our integration test against that. I think it gives you around several gigabytes of RAM and a few CPU for the worker. With the capability, I don't know if there are tiers for different workers for GitHub Actions, but there is definitely the possibility to include a custom runner. I know that from the time where I set up the ARM-based GitHub Actions for ARM-based tests. Right, and our build has been successful. Can you scroll the log? Can we check if the Docker container was actually started there? I love those whale icons.
So it should be here, right? With the build with Maven, we had the whaleys. Everything is built. Shouldn't it be here somewhere? Can I search for an icon?
I don't know. Maybe I think you should be able to.
There it is.
Yes.
So here's our container, also the ID and build with, and so on and so forth. I can also see my processor.
Right. This is very, very cool.
Yeah.
So this way,
doesn't even care where it is, right?
It doesn't care. Yeah, it doesn't. It literally doesn't. Maven is downloading the whole internet. That is not true, Yannick. Maven is downloading.
They can do so much worse.
Yes, Maven is only downloading half of the internet, and the other half is consumed by NPM, which is incidentally also was acquired by some companies, and now probably npm could be faster because they could be co-located with GitHub. Now, in all seriousness, I think npm was acquired by, was it GitHub or was it Microsoft?
I think it was via GitHub.
Yeah. So that is not the point. What I would like to point your attention here is how the whole pipeline of development can be enabled very, very seamlessly in the GitHub ecosystem without leaving. We created the application, we hosted the repository with all the project management and everything there. We can develop that application there. We can have a CI pipeline without even leaving the GitHub ecosystem, which is I think spectacular. And this is, you might think that this is a simple application, but if setting up the same environment manually there is very, very much non-trivial. Right. Do you what's the next step? What can we do with this application more? Can we do anything more?
Yeah, we could deploy it to any cloud now if we want to. Or, hey, so you said we're having Kafka here. So we usually with Kafka we do have a producer and some kind of a listener, so consumer. And I feel that so far we only have the producer, right, who's producing the prime numbers. Can we make it more interesting and also adding a consumer, because otherwise we wouldn't really know if there's real Kafka involved, right? Or if it's just a REST thing showing some prime numbers.
Yes.
And you're just saying it would be on Kafka.
That is true. Yes, we can do that. We have a few minutes to explore more of Quarkus applications. Let's create a separate Quarkus application, which will be we're going to use the same code space for this, right? Because we want them to communicate through Kafka, and since our Kafka is running here locally in our cloud code space VM, we would like to have our listener also be here.
Okay.
Okay. How are we gonna do that? Do we want to start it from scratch, or do we
I think we only have 16 minutes, and I know you have something prepared. So do you want to?
Yes, I need to send you a zip file.
Okay.
Let me very quickly think how I can offer you a zip file from my.
Or can you just load it in the code space?
Can I? Oh, I can. Yes, I think I can. Right, I have my code space here. I have my. Do you know how I can do this?
I mean, can't you curl and then edit there, make it available? Wasn't there a Python tool to use it? A small Python server?
Yes, I can do that. 1 second. 1 second. I can do that. I know I can do that. I have my downloads folder here. And you don't see this. I'm doing this off screen. So Sandra, talk to us about the Docker meetup in Germany. What can you say about that? Are you starting to get back on track with the...
I would love to. So all our 12 people watching, if you have something container related and you want to present, please reach out to me, and we can also host it on the Berlin Docker meetup and can be virtual as well. You know, we have such great opportunities here with live share where we can totally do pair programming as well live on stage. So let's bring the meetup back together and make it a bit more lively. Or also, if you already have an event prepared and it does have containers inside, please feel free to reach out to me. I'm on Twitter at @screamhead, so you can find me there, and my DMs are open. So I think it would be great to have some more content, and I can't be the only one doing sessions. So please do so. So how's it going?
Yeah, my
more time. And the joke with the Kafka thing was not made up. So for us, it took at least 2 weeks to set up our whole Kafka clusters and environment with VMs and network and secured network and the Zookeeper. And then we used Vertex at this time to create our producers and consumers for our event-driven application stack. And nowadays, the way to do it is so easy and so simple with Quarkus and test containers. Yeah. Now I kind of understand, when I started programming kind of 8 years ago, already the senior folks were more, I wouldn't say they were pissed, but they were a bit jealous that it was so much easier for us. So like the new generation joining, but I really feel that for the next generations, it's even more easy.
Right. I'm ready to start downloading things.
Sure, I want to
And
do it.
you
with
wouldn't even. But I think I lost the terminal.
You lost the terminal?
Yeah.
So you will ask for access again, or what can I do?
No, wait a second.
Mm-hmm.
Can you create a new? We had to set Kafka Zookeeper cluster once for RDP and VPN by hand using PuTTY. German companies being German companies by comment by Kevin.
Yep.
How marvelous. So
Yeah, it was probably painful as well. So how long did it take? Was it weeks or more months?
I feel like we need to get some Kafka professionals here on live stream one of the next episodes to kind of defend the honor of the technology. It's actually it's not that bad.
No, it's brilliant once you have it set up correctly.
Yes.
Maybe we're just not smart enough to do it correctly.
Yes, that's my excuse. When I kind of do something properly, I also use that. So now I've did the following thing. I created an issue on GitHub and I uploaded my file there. And now I need to curl that file or get that file from there. And for that, I need a new terminal in VS Code. Can you please do that for me?
So you want me to create another terminal?
Yes, I think so. Because,
Okay,
I see that. It also, I requested the read-write access.
Yes.
You can see the pop-up there. Very, very good.
And I also see that the only participants are now Alex Haller. So when they asked me about making open to everyone, I was aware that it's only for Alex.
Right. So I downloaded my zip file there.
Okay.
And in the workspace. Oh, Jerome, missed the beginning of the stream, but I thought I will catch up. I think test containers are great and want to see them in action. Thank you very much for the comment. We love grateful people, and we love people who think test containers are. You don't even have to think it's great. Even if you say that it's decent or practical, that would be a highlight of my personally day. Right. Right. So what we have here is do you see here? We have the primes Kafka listener file directory, and we need to add that to our VS Code thing. Right? Or do we have to? I don't think we maybe have to. Let's go into it. Mm-hmm. And let's explore. Tree is not found. Let's explore application properties. Source, main, resources, application properties. What? No. Can you add that as the can you add that file as the folder in the workspace?
Oof.
I think you just need to click on the
yes.
Maybe I can add it. No. Add folder to workspace, and then it doesn't give me. Does it give it to you?
So there should be something view and then add to workplace. Add to workspace. Use an explorer. Maybe that helps. Okay, so now you're just starting it from the terminal.
Yes.
And now it's saying that port 5005 is already in use.
Yes, and we can ignore that safely. Okay. 5005 is the the port for debug, for attaching remote debugger, right? So since we are not trying to debug here and we are running 2 Quarkus applications inside the same container, we don't care if we can attach the debugger on the same port or not, right? But
Okay.
I think our application here is running, and well, I couldn't see the configuration, but what it's supposed to do is to have our computation logs topic, to listen to that and print out the things. So now, if we go to our application that is still running in the previous terminal, and we hit it with the requests, then we will see the prime numbers coming back. But we also will send the Kafka messages. And 2 Quarkus applications running in dev mode with dev services, if they see that they both deal with Kafka, it doesn't make sense to have a separate Kafka for both of them, because if they're running in the same workspace, it makes sense that they want to share the messages through that. So one is sending messages to Kafka. The other one, when we started, it actually, if you see there in the logs, I don't know if it prints there, but it determined that a Kafka run by Quarkus dev service is running, and it just connected to that, right? So it configured the application to run with the same Kafka instance. So now if we hit our original application, I think we should see some computation log entries in this second terminal for the listener.
Okay. The first one says the tests are paused. Should we rerun them to see that?
No, we don't need to. Do we need to run the test? No, I think we need just to open them in the browser as we did before.
Okay. This one.
Yes.
Should I go with that one?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, this is still running.
Yes.
So when it is sending messages to Kafka, and now if you open the third terminal where we run the thing, do you see it? That is.
What should I see here now?
What we should see here now is we should see the Kafka. We should see it connect to the same Kafka instance, and then work with the same. Work with the same topic and get the messages and print them out.
Okay.
Let me just quickly.
I think one was called with the one or so in the name, right?
Yeah, what's the name for that? One zip. Let's do the new one, right? So we did this one. We go into private Kafka listener. We cut the application properties. Why is the application properties empty? Let's see if this is actually the right application. It's the same greeting. Wait.
Okay.
What do you see?
I see hello.
You know, this is, I don't want to throw shade here. But my terminal doesn't work as reliably as your terminal. This is
Yeah,
fine.
I mean, it's all new.
We're gonna leave this as the exercise for the reader. It is unfortunate. I thought it should work out of the box here. Indeed, if you do this experiment yourself, I'm pretty sure that you will see that 2 Kafka instances do 2 dev services, Quarkus applications do share the same Kafka instance started inside a Docker with Testcontainers, and then you can do the whole communication through that. It's a little bit challenging here to debug this through the IDE without actually seeing the files. So I'm a little bit confused on what's happening here, but I think it should be very, 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 very simple.
So here's another port which showed up as 8081.
Yes.
When I click on it, it says bad
Is
gateway.
it? Wait.
Or shall I also add this?
Right, I know what happened. This is an empty application. This is not what's supposed to happen. This application doesn't have any logic, which we leave as an exercise for the future. We are running a little bit out of time.
Yeah. Great. So we will wrap it up as a blog post together and also
is a
add
great
the
idea.
consumer here, right?
That is a great idea. To create a blog post about this. All in all, this is not a fault. Surprisingly, this is not a fault of technology. Both the GitHub and Testcontainers and Quarkus, all of them worked correctly. I think it's either me copying the wrong zip somewhere, or some other mishap. So the problem here is between the user and the keyboard, as they say, which is totally on me. Right. Do you have any questions? If you have any questions in chat about GitHub integrations, continuous integration, GitHub Actions, I think that would be a very good time to ask them. And if not, you can catch up with the resources that we looked at here. The links are in the description of the video, and you can find Sandra on Twitter or any other social media. On Twitter, Sandra goes by S. How do you do that?
Ahlgrimm.
Yes.
But you find it in the description also. Or
Yes.
you just search for Sandra Ahlgrimm. I also show up there. Yeah, and follow us for the blog post then. And also, if you have more questions, also just ping us there so we can add this to the blog post then. And by the way, Oleg, who was the magician who made it so easy to have the whole Kafka setup without having us to spend 2 weeks for it? Was it you?
Oh, no. That was the collaboration on the Testcontainers Kafka module. And that was a community effort. You can find that on testcontainers.org/modules/Kafka, I think, or maybe docs modules Kafka. And it does very interesting things because Kafka is complex, right? But it creates a Docker container. It starts Kafka. It starts embedded Zookeeper, I think. Then what it does, because Kafka needs to announce the Bootstrap server ports, available ports, something. So inside that Docker container, it runs commands to correctly announce the ports. And yeah, it does all that setup for you automatically. So as a developer, you don't have to know the intricacies of how to set up Kafka, but you just do it on the fly. But this is truly a community contribution, and we are very, very grateful for the users. It all is hosted on GitHub, so if you go to the Testcontainers organization on GitHub, you can see that we are using GitHub Actions for tests. It's a very, very sweet setup. So I don't see any questions in chat. So thank you very much, Sandra, for joining me. It was splendid until I broke the demo, and I hope you have a great evening, and I hope everyone who is watching this found this useful and interesting. Thank you for joining, and see you next time.
Thanks, everyone. Bye.